I met my wife in Canada in the year 2000. We were musicians who ended up in the same band and spent time touring in Canada and the United States. She came here on a legal visa, and we spent the first 2 years of our dating and engagement with her as a visaed immigrant. Once we got married, we began the process of getting her citizenship. We always endeavored to do it the right way and in such a manner that we followed the rules. It was an arduous process that was expensive and frustrating at times. We had to hire attorneys and bring proof of our marriage and children to our immigration meetings to let the bureaucrat behind the desk know that we weren't gaming the system. It was dehumanizing and an experience I wouldn't wish on anyone. Standing in line at 4 a.m. to see if you could get your turn with the officers was wholly inefficient and reeked of big government oppression. My wife became a citizen in January of 2023, just a mere 23 years after our first attempts at gaining her citizenship. Granted, we were not as efficient as we could have been in that process, but the experiences we had over the years were nothing we were enthusiastically ready to attempt at times, and so dragging our feet was a more palatable option for us in many seasons of our life. In the 23 years since our first attempts at immigration, I have watched millions of people cross the border illegally. They came across in a multitude of ways, but what has happened has been nothing short of an invasion. Each quarter, nearly the same amount of people cross the southern border as live in Wyoming and Vermont combined. They come here to work for a better life, but live in the shadows of the law, finding their workarounds from an illegal life, but benefiting from a good land with kind people and a generous soul. As in all things politics, a more graceful solution exists than either of the examples discussed. No one needs to be put through such an exasperating experience that requires tens of thousands of dollars and a dehumanization to be here legally. And others need not cross the border in the cloak of darkness to live in the shadowlands of illegality. But in this instance, with the sheer negligence that is being demonstrated, one has to question if the border is really anything more for the politician and the powerful than another tool to brutalize the average American citizen. When someone comes across the border without the proper documentation, it's not likely because they want to come to live a life of breaking the law. It is most probable that they are forced to sneaking in under the cover of darkness because the other alternative is impossible for them. They don't have the money to pay the lawyers, they can't speak the language to fill out the insurmountable paperwork, and they don't have the time to take away from working to stand in line to be berated by a bureaucrat. Illegality is by force and the consequences of a policy of lunacy and a destructive government agency. When presidential candidates visit the border and can watch in real time people sneaking across by tens of hundreds, the ineffectual political system has clearly failed. If the elites in Washington cannot stop the invasion, either by lack of will or by sheer incompetence, the only thing that makes a country viable, its border, may as well not exist. Life in the shadows for the immigrant is a strange one. Transactions must be in cash in an increasingly cashless system. Work must be with someone who looks the other way at all times at their immigration status. Driving and existing are always perilous, never knowing when the next shoe might drop. But it is also, in some strange ways, less punitive than being a citizen. There are little to no taxes paid. When rules are broken, they are not enforced by police or governments because the fatalism in that pursuit is palpable. So the immigrant lives a shadow life, lurking around the edges of the law, while the citizen pays an ever more punitive price for obeying the law. In essence, the citizen not only pays for their life, but the life of those in the shadows too. The citizen pays the taxes, bears the burdens for expensive health care, is chased down by law enforcement with much higher rates of aggression because they are the only ones who can face the consequences of their behaviors. They have to follow all the codes and regulations about housing, driving, banking, and taxation, while the people in the shadows live free of those citizenry oppressions. It's a terrible system, caused almost exclusively by bad government abroad and bad government at home. There should not exist the duality before the law, and it would not exist if America took interest in her own land and borders more than those in far-off countries. We are living in the results of 60 years of interventionist wars around the globe. The rise of totalitarian regimes in the Middle East, Africa, South and Central America have all been at the behest in some manner of the United States. Coups, wars, brutality and sanctions, and insistence upon a petrodollar have made our border as porous as a mask is to a virus. We are losing our actual country, not to foreign armies, but to the exertion of our armies overseas that displaces people more predictably than water and Archimedes in a tub. The current system, like many other systems in America, is broken. It has been overrun by agents hell-bent on building their bureaucratic empires rather than benefiting the citizen. Their own self-interest in job security and love of inflicting death by 1,000 forms is palpable and very much evident. There needs to be a human solution to this issue, and it won't be solved by building up more paperwork or by desk minions. Immigration could be solved in 4 simple steps if the people and government wanted it to be done. Number 1, stop funding wars overseas and bring troops home to secure the border. Number 2, simplify paperwork so that anyone can fill it out without the help of an attorney. Number 3, put a hold on any benefits or taxpayer compensation on an immigrant coming into the United States. Make it so that they cannot collect Social Security, Medicare, or government benefits for a period of 5 years, and if at any time during that probationary period they break the law, they need to be deported and not allowed back into the country. Number 4, associate the number of immigrants per year to the amount of jobs and differentiation between full employment and underemployment. In other words, whatever the gap is in labor for American companies, a person and their immediate family would be allowed to land here on probationary terms to fill that need. This isn't difficult, but it does require resolve and a movement away from the current design. If we are willing to view the immigrant as human while also giving them the best chance to become part of America legally, we can be the bright land of hope that attracts them here in the first place. We have always been a country that attracts people because of the great opportunity it affords. Yet day by day we are building a place that is neither fair to those that are coming who want the chance, or those who are endeavoring in it. The goal should be good government. What we have is an intentionally designed nightmare that no one should be subjected to.